Hello guys, welcome to my first episode of Dev Diary. My name is Katrin, I'm a front-end developer living in Germany. If you're interested in vlogs, you can check out my second channel. But here I wanted to create series where I can share with you in German they have a word locker, which means relaxed way, some front-end chaos. For example, news, tools, anything that I found interesting recently during my working days, maybe some wisdom or some challenges, struggles. We will see how it goes, but the most important part is to try not to take things too seriously. So put me on the background and start coding while listening to me talking. Let's start. So first thing I want to ask you, how do you usually return from vacation? Because for me, for example, for the whole previous week we had company days in Portugal and I really never even opened my laptop and I didn't write even a single line of codes because there were mostly only workshops, presentations, connecting with each other and so on. And today it's a day off because there is some Christian holiday in Germany. But tomorrow I start my working routine and I'm kind of feeling myself like this because I don't even remember what I was working on the last time. It took me a lot of time to think and to choose topics to talk with you about on this first episode because there are so many. I decided to choose something that I'm like very much in love with for the last half a year, and it is React query or 10-stack query. You probably are going to ask, but come on, it was here already for so long and there is nothing new. But not for me, because before that, at my previous jobs, I worked mostly with older technologies and, for example, 2 versions older from the current version of React. Only at my new position, we are very technology-oriented and we try to use as many modern technologies as possible. That's where I really met React query. And I really love it because consider this code. Before that, you had to write everything by yourself, use effect, set loading, set error, try fetch, and so on. And now everything is going to be done by React query. I'm not going to get into theory and everything. I'm going to link a very interesting blog post in the description below, so have a look because it also explains what you should use React query with. For example, like not local state, but server state, what it is and so on. So have a look, it's very interesting and very good and simply written. Recently there was a React Paris conference, like 2 months ago, not so recently, but anyway, I really love this conference because I actually think it's my most favorite React conference, and if you need to choose one, then choose this one. I participated in one previous year online and I love that they have very diverse but also very interesting and some topics more detailed. It's kind of to have a glimpse what's going on in React world. I think it's worth to have a look at it, so I'm going to link the playlist also in description below. And for example, there was also a talk how not to use React query or 10-stack query. Another one was that I really liked was behind the APIs, how Zustand, Joytai and Valtio were born. I have no idea what the third one is, and I created a course, for example, about Zustand, but I also never used Joytai, but I really want to, so it's probably going to be a part of my next tutorial, but it will take time. For example, such talks, they are also very interesting to understand a little bit under the hood what's going on. So again, have a look. For example, personally, I prefer to start my mornings early but slowly, It means that I usually start at 8 a.m. I, for example, open my laptop, I update the project, check emails, messages, and when there is nothing urgent, then I spend 20 minutes learning something new, because it's so hard to stay updated in tech. Too many things are going on. I can choose at least, for example, one article to read or one YouTube video to watch. I usually get few newsletters. I'm going to share them also in the description. And then I just choose, for example, the most interesting for me, most interesting and most relevant for me. Now let's talk about accessibility. I am really interested in this field, and that's why you're going to get there too. But recently I saw the WebAIM Million report, which analyzes the accessibility of the top 1 million homepages on the web. Seriously, I was very shocked, because I noticed that we started talking more about accessibility and more people started being more interested in it. There are also some countries where it became already a part of law, and it's not nice to have anymore, but a required feature, and not feature but the part of the whole project. I was very shocked to see that the situation actually got worse. The report found that 94.8% of homepages still have detectable accessibility issues, which basically means if you randomly open any website, the chance of finding accessibility issues is like guaranteed. And what surprised me, those issues are not connected to some advanced topics, which expect of you to have some super duper accessibility knowledge. No, there are such things like low contrasts, missing alternative texts on images, missing labels on forms, empty links and buttons. Problems that could be solved even if you just use semantic HTML, or you could even run the automated test, for example, on your page. So eventually 96% of all detected issues, they belong to just a few categories which just repeat themselves. So we are not dealing here with hundreds of impossible problems. We just keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Eventually, the funny thing, like funny but sad, is that pages where ARIA was implemented have more mistakes than without ARIA. It means that developers just don't care, and for example they just still think about accessibility like something to get over with and just to get it done and that's it, and never test it, and they just randomly implement, for example, all areas that they think is needed, but in most cases you even do not need ARIA if you use semantic HTML. Let's remember the first rule of ARIA: don't use ARIA when native HTML already does the job. As a final part, let's talk about a little bit less serious thing, or also depends on who you ask. Recently, there was some front-end chaos going on in the internet around GitHub. One of the last news was that some malicious VS Code extension became a part of a security incident. Here, also a fun or sad fact about me. First of all, I am in the team of JetBrains, so I am mocked at work by my colleagues that I do not use VS Code, I use JetBrains ID. And I'm also a very minimalistic and conservative developer. It means that I don't have a fancy desk setup. Probably at some point I'm going to show it to you and you will be shocked. And I also don't really use ID extensions. Eventually, when everyone was discussing this extension incident, I just was coding with confidence. So let me know in the comments if you are in the team of VS Code or if you prefer WebStorm or any other JetBrains ID. For the final words, I chose to share with you something that I learned hard way, but you don't have to. When you are doing code reviews, always check package.json because last time I decided to try my colleague and I was very happy to tick reviewed on GitHub checkbox and move on. But eventually while, I guess, solving some conflicts, the release version of the project was changed to the wrong one. We started having some deployment problems on our environments. It took time to find where the problem comes from, and also to fix it. It was quite fast, but still it took time and it could be avoided. Be very attentive to the details, even to the things that you think that they don't matter, because in development sometimes small things are usually the ones that come back later and surprise you. So on that note, that was my first Dev Diary episode. Let me know in the comments what you think and what are the most recent front-end development news that blew up your mind. Like and subscribe, and I see you in the next one. And remember, be a cool developer, develop accessibility first. Happy coding, bye!